Welcome to Waypoint Connect. It's so great to be talking about leadership and specifically having you back in our studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sunet, welcome to Waypoint Connect. We're talking about leadership. The challenge is that if we follow Jesus, and that's the purpose for us as leaders, it means that we kind of become countercultural because Jesus is calling us to be different, and the world is following their way, their views, and they don't always match up. So how do you navigate that on a day-to-day basis?
So it's quite a tough question, and it's not something I always had the answer to, and it's still a journey. But I think for me, where it changed was when I redefined leadership for myself. So I think the world has a very specific picture of what a leader looks like. So for me, when I came to that point in my life where I redefined it, was where it really became alive for me. And I think, wherever you are interacting with people, whether that's at work or in a friendship group or, leading a life group or whatever that might look like, I think wherever you have a sphere of influence, that's where God can use you as a leader. And like you said, being countercultural, especially for us as believers, how do I lead people into a living relationship with Christ, lead them into or help them grow? And for me, I almost want to say that made it a bit easier to see myself as a leader, because that doesn't mean it necessarily needs to be someone that's standing at the front of a group and physically leading people, or someone standing on the stage or whatever. That's not the definition of a leader. So I think once you put that out of your mind and you just say, do you know what, God has called me to lead people into a life that looks different to the status quo, then I think that makes it a bit easier for you to take on and to tackle.
I love how you're redefining leadership and saying it's not only be in the limelight, be in front, but it's also encouraging people and putting others first and standing behind them.
Yeah.
And then if the focus is to bring people into a relationship with Jesus, it's never this, I'm here to judge you and I'm here to tell you what you're doing wrong, and that's how I'm leading.
Yeah.
So I love that approach of yours.
Yeah. I think something I always used to struggle with is, I'm quite analytical and I can be quite task-driven, was I would spend time, journeying with someone or pouring into someone, and I would get frustrated because I wouldn't see the results, and I quickly got convicted of that, when God showed me that, yes, He calls me to do the work and to plant the seeds, but He's solely responsible for the outcome in that person's life. And I think that's just an important thing to remember, is we are His hands and His feet, but He does the finished work in someone's heart. And I think something for me as well, always when I think of leadership, I always get this, for myself personally, I always get this picture of like a group of people, and I'll always be behind that group of people. I never see myself in front of them when I think of myself as a leader. So I think my leadership style, or not just my style, I think what God's called us to is to be this gracious, gentle, almost want to say encouragement and guide from behind to kind of help people reach a certain destination or growth, and this abundant life that God has called us to, which is completely countercultural. And it's not a I am independent thing. It's a I can't do this without community thing. And
My last question is everybody called to leadership? Is everybody called to lead?
That's also a difficult question, but I think for me personally, what I feel is, yes, you will have leaders that I think have certain skills where they might be more in the limelight and on the stage, and maybe more leading from the front, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think everyone who calls himself a believer is a leader, because according to, you know, my definition and how I experience leading and how God's called me to leadership is again, like I say, that where you have a sphere of influence. And I don't think God meant for us to walk around on earth not influencing. So I think everyone who calls himself a believer is led to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded of Jesus' instruction
Yeah,
when he said, go and make disciples.
absolutely.
There's no way that you're going to be able to make disciples if
Yes.
you're not leading, even if it's a group of 3 or 4.
Exactly.
So each and every one of us is called to lead.
Yeah.
That leadership we need to redefine and say it's not that from the stage, and it's not that leading an organization of 5,000 people, but God has called me to lead.
Yeah.
And who are the people that I'm supposed to be leading?
Yeah. And just on that, I think something that kind of just like wraps it up for me is really God calls us to love. And I feel like loving the way He demonstrated love will change people, will influence, will move people.
Yeah.
So I think we are all called to love, and that will bring about change.
Yeah, awesome. Sunet, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing with us as well. I hope that this has inspired you, it's challenged you, and it's caused you to rethink what leadership is, what your role is. So thank you for being with us, and remember, have a great week.